Hey everyone, this is Digital Dentistry Decoded, the iDD podcast. I'm Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassiny, and I am helping you transition from analog to digital and navigate this world of digital dentistry. Now, we are super lucky to have VP of Product Strategy at 3Shape, Rune Fisker. How you doing, Rune?
I'm doing excellent, Ahmed. Thank you so much, and thanks for the invite. I'm always looking forward to these sessions here.
Absolutely, my pleasure, my friend. Look, I always love our chats, and I have to say, 3Shape has had a massive year. You guys have come up with a lot of releases this year. Anyway, we'll get into that, but what have you been up to? You've been busy traveling, I see.
Yeah, of course, this is holiday seasons in Europe, so I've actually been on Greenland and in Ethiopia.
Damn.
A few weeks here. But besides that, of course, we have had a lot of exciting stuff going on the 3Shape side with launches. Here, one of the biggest launches in 3Shape history.
Awesome. Before we get into the 3Shape stuff, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. What's your favorite country that you've been to? Those of you who don't know, Rune is a avid foodie and an incredible traveler. He's been everywhere. What's your favorite country? Apart from Denmark, it has to be Denmark, number one.
I don't have one favorite country. I'm actually at country 99 now. So, but I was in Japan earlier this year. I love Japan. I love also Peru, but I also love Europe and the US. Just different experiences, right? So different countries provide different experiences. But it is fun traveling out there, and I do like countries that are not just a common consumerism, McDonald's style life that some of the countries have, right?
Yeah, totally. It's nice. Yeah, I've been to Peru as well, actually. It's an amazing country. Anywho, let's get into the good stuff. We only have a few minutes, or let's say an hour of your precious time. You're a busy man. So tell us, how's 3Shape been going? How's the year? I mean, we're already in, the 8th month of the year. This is crazy. The year has just flown by. What's been happening, Rune?
Yeah, time is flying, right? No, this has been another really exciting year for 3Shape. We have done one of the biggest launches in history with Trios Core, Trios 3, the new Unite 3, and also Ready Tips here June 6th. So that is, of course, what I live for. And what I think is exciting, right?
Yeah, true. So you guys did have a huge year. You guys released a whole bunch of products. How's it been? So Trios 3 updated for those who need Invisalign, of course, and Trios Core. How's market reception been? I mean, this is the lowest cost Trios scanner we've ever seen. And obviously built on the extremely successful Trios 3. So how's the market reception been?
I think the market reception has been very positive. If we start with Trios 3, we're actually surprised of the interest in this. There's no doubt that revising that, and of course it's a strong platform, and also with the Invisalign connection have driven a lot of orders. Also, I think people have seen our commitment to the platform. So it's not just fading out, but we're actually revising it, bringing USB-C, updating the hardware design, etc. You can say more radically on Trios Core, which is obviously a complete new product and the most affordable 3Shape scanner in 3Shape history, 12,400. There has been a very solid uptake. Of course, it takes longer time in the channel to build new products there, but it has been very well received. And we are very satisfied with what we have been selling so far, and continue to see further excitement in the market out there. So I think it's been a very strong launch. Of course, only 2 months ago, a little bit more than 2 months ago, with summer holiday in. So it's still early day, but we are optimistic.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, Trios 3 is super popular. I mean, and what do you tell people that say it's a repackaged Trios 3? Is that just that? Is it? What was the kind of thinking behind that? Are you, tackling the market head on? Are you meeting the market where it needs to be met? Is it like meeting the competition because the scanner prices are falling? Or what was the thought process behind it?
Oh, I think that the Trios 3 was also to bring that up with removing a lot of cables and power supplies. So it's now a pure USB-C. And it has been it's the most sold scanner in the world. So it's been extremely popular product and remained also popular before we introduced the updated or refreshed version, right? But of course, you can say more strategically, of course, 3Shape's course was to have a product that was at a more affordable price, and you can say maybe you can say a more strategic new move in that sense, trying really to open up the market. And of course, 3Shape here is to be the undisputed leader of iOS. 3Shape was never born to be number two, so we are not gonna give up also in the lower part of the market, even though we will always be a mid to premium company.
Very, very well said. And look, I love it, honestly. And I don't see there's any shame in reducing prices when it's done tastefully, And I think, you had to meet the market in that way. And like you say, I still think 3Shape is a very premium brand in the market. I mean, everyone thinks of 3Shape very highly. And of course, you still have your very premium Trios 5 for those who want it. With the Trios Core, do you think the scanner prices in the future will continue to be driven down? What's your outlook on something like that?
I think that's, of course, we have seen a drop over the last period here. Also, with the increased competition, there will be some further decrease in prices, but I think we'll see it more flatten out. But of course, the market will dictate that. And of course, as competition is good for customers. So as we remain very positive on the market outlook overall, the growth, the adaptation, the number of iOSs in each clinic, etc. So we are very optimistic overall, but I think we'll continue to see some level of decline, though it might flatten a little bit out in the lower end in certain areas.
Yeah, cool. It's been fascinating to watch, and I'm sure for you as well. I mean, I've been doing digital dentistry, for about 10 years. So you've been doing it for longer than me, I think, Rune. It's been a roller coaster, man, since 10 years ago till now. The market has totally shifted. And one of these big shifts that we're seeing is cloud and everything going to the cloud. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, 3Shape, and everyone's really excited about this, finally, but thankfully, announced that all the scanners are going to the cloud. And so how close are we to seeing that happening? Is it here and now, or?
I think that there's no doubt that cloud is a massive underlying technology trend, right? So there's actually two parts of it. There's the customer-facing part where scans are moved to the cloud. So we launched Unite 3, also June 6, and are now rolling that out globally. We have rolled out to several thousand customers already, with really mainly in the US, with really good reception where all cases are synchronized to the cloud. We also have the Unite Cloud app here, so you can instantly see the cases as soon as they are created. You can see the scans, you can communicate. There's a super cool workflow also by adding pictures easily from your phone, as cameras are getting so good on your phone, right? So I think there's a massive, you can say, front-end trend on cloud. And then actually, if you are a developer, all code, etc., all your tools are basically moving to the cloud, where they used to be on the PC, previously were coding stuff for running on your PC. Now everything is moving to the cloud. And you see, especially Microsoft and Amazon, with their cloud services being extraordinarily successful because everything is basically moving on the cloud. We also at Microsoft ourselves having all the cases and a lot of computation also now running in the cloud.
Do you see that as the future? Do you think that is the future of iOS? And I guess the dental clinic of the future. Do you think, within 5 years, most, if not all, scanners worth their salt will be on the cloud?
I think that the short answer is yes. Of course, some of our competitors might not have moved there or have not moved there yet, it's quite obviously. But if you start a new development project now, you will be more or less born in the cloud. But we do see when we evaluate the competition technology stack, they are at varying quality from a tech stack point of view, only partly or not at all in the cloud. So, but it's unavoidable to move in the cloud, both for storage, also for computation to some level.
The cloud is interesting because it's here's my take on the cloud, which is very curious. This may be a bit of a negative thing, but So intraoral scanners, we fought very hard to make them subscription free,
Yeah.
And actually 3Shape recently, a few years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago now, made their scanners subscription free. And of course, that was a big wave in the market. All scanners are free of yearly fees. But what's very interesting to me, and fair enough, because clouds are not cheap to run and neither is the storage to maintain. But now what I'm seeing in the market is almost every company that's going into the cloud is now charging for cloud storage. What are your thoughts about that? That's just the future and we have to accept it?
I think the challenge for companies is cost associated to run the cloud. It's not free to run a cloud, and it's not free to run a cloud at the size and the scale like we are doing with iOS, and of course even more imaging, X-rays and CBCT, right? And that's the challenge, is that those cost along. So it's a little bit hard to sell a product, especially with prices maybe more going down, and not and then cover the cloud cost, at least up to a certain level when it's, if we look at 5 or 10 year horizon, right? So I just think it's a little bit unavoidable, honestly, because of the endured cost. But of course, also some companies do see this for sure as a business model also, right? And we also know it from our phone. I mean, we all have, all the images. I mean, it's such a pain not to have all your photos and all your stuff in the cloud, right?
Especially when you lose your phone or you're locked out of your phone, then you really appreciate the cloud.
Yeah, exactly right. Or if you have an iPad and an iPhone and synchronizing images, so I think it will be the same, but hopefully it will find a reasonable level from a cost perspective, right?
And how I understand it, 3Shape is managing this cloud thing by, it's going to be part of Trios Care. Is that correct? Is that how you guys are managing the cloud storage, or is that going to be a separate thing?
So everybody will have whether you are on Trios Care or not on Trios Care, you will have a solid amount of cloud space already, and you will have that continuously, right? But if you want to have extra cloud storage, then it is part of the Trios Care.
Nice. All right. And I want to get into AI in a second and pick your brains, because I don't know anyone else who's, got their finger on the pulse of the digital dentistry market like you. But before we get into that, let's get into some juicy stuff. Rune, off the cuff, okay? So let's talk about the intraoral scanner market. Okay, we're in August now, and I'm sure you've been keeping a close eye on the market. And every year you release tips and advice. I think it's a top 6 kind of things to look out for. What have you seen, Rune? Have you seen anything in particular? Have you heard anything that's interesting that you can share with the audience? Or, what are your general thoughts about the scanner market, CAD/CAM? We'll get into 3D printing, no doubt. I'm sure people would love to hear your opinion, but please take the mic.
Now you can say, it has been yet another extremely exciting year. But also when you talk to people outside the industry, they think that digital dentistry is a little bit boring, right? But I would say it almost moves with consumer style speed, with the speed, if not of phones, then at least something that goes really fast, right? So of course we have seen a number of launches this year from some of ourselves, 2 new scanners, but also most notable from iTD and Mediate, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we see a lot of activities going on out there. So there's no doubt that the market dynamics are very dynamic, so to speak. So of course we see some companies struggles. I think Mediate has had a hard year. We see now iTD. We see iTD. Honestly, maybe not the greatest product, but they have a really strong commercial performance on the whole trade-up market into the install base, right? We also see actions going on from some of the Chinese players there, most notably Shining. We see a lot of dynamic in the market, and I think it's great for consumers, and I honestly love it because it gives dynamic, it gives motion. You need to wake up early to be sure you are competitive, right? And develop the right products for the right segments, and all the time adjusting to the market. So I think it's exciting, a lot of stuff going on. I still think that the overall outlook is super positive. But of course, I actually think there's a surprisingly big shift in the market. Of course, there's also very solid rumors on the new Prime scan coming out here. Obviously not in rumors, but confirmations on that. So that's also going to be exciting. But you can say, as actually you look at the four main players, everybody have launched new scanners or will launch new scanners this year. So you can say very high activity, right?
Totally agree. It's been a huge year. I mean, as a guy who, this is kind of my passion project, kind of, I love dentistry. I love doing iDD and sharing information. It's been a hard year for me, man. It's a lot going on. And I totally agree. It's been a big year. I think this is one of the biggest years. It reminds me of 2019 IDS when all the big players released stuff. And I agree. We have Medit releasing stuff, which, like it or hate it, it was a release. iTero, and yes, iTero is facing some interesting feedback, but that was a massive upgrade to their previous stuff. Obviously, 3Shape, and yes, of course, Dentsply Sirona, which is a very, very interesting release to come. But I totally agree. These Chinese companies are very interesting, and if it's anything like electric cars, someone has to think, these Chinese companies are going to take over digital dentistry. It's crazy to think, it's or at least gain a lot more market share than they did. What do you think?
I think it's a great discussion, and it's very tempting to compare with the car industry. I would say, though, that I don't think that competition has fallen asleep as many the German player or the Western players and has basically left the door open. We at least haven't left the door open. We are here to compete, following very closely the Chinese players. Also, I do think one thing is doing a good scanner. I do think that they will struggle on the service part. Mm-hmm. And especially in the broader audience, not like tech experts like yourself, but in the broader audience, we need good service. 3Shape is investing heavily in our service. Mm-hmm. And also on the ecosystem, not so much the app, but it's also about having connections to hundreds of PMSs, to the right labs and building great workflows for that, to clear liner manufacturers. And I have a hard time seeing them doing that out of China in full transparency. We will remain very competitive, and they will remain an interesting addition to the landscape, right? And that you have to be a little bit, you can say, impressed by the amount of scanners coming out. Okay, they are very varying qualities, the scanners, but of course, they are getting better and better, particularly some of them. Right, and we see also high development speed. So I would say I feel the market is very different to electric cars. And whether we are Tesla or 3Shape or not, I will let other people judge. But at least we at least feel that we are strongly competitive. Also, there's still some way you can say one thing is in emerging markets that you for sure have a strong position, but particularly in the US and also to some extent in Europe. I mean, dentists still have a lot of commitment to the strong brands and also the complete package. I'm thinking about it a lot, but I'm definitely sleeping well still. So
that's good. That's good. I'm glad. We need you sleeping well. We need all the innovations. Anyway, okay, so it's interesting. Okay, one last question, because I know me and you could talk about scanners all day, and it kind of gets tiring. We talk about it every time we see each other. We talk about it every conference. But one last question. And totally don't hold back. What do you think? I think the intraoral scanner is totally swollen. The market of intraoral scanners is, to me, it's too much. And I don't think a niche market like dentistry needs 35 different scanners. So we talked about the top 4. Let's say the top 5 if you want to include Shining.
Sure.
What do you think is going to happen to the middle of the pack? You always have the cheap Chinese products that will maybe gain some market share, but what's happening to the middle of the pack, like Dexys, Planmeca? Planmeca we haven't heard anything from for a very long time. Do you think a lot of these players are going to exit, or what do you think?
So generally, I think we are following a very classical trend here in new markets where you see a few pioneers first, starting out, right? And then suddenly become a lot of players, and then it will consolidate again, maybe to 3 to 5 players. I don't even think it's going to be much more than that. And why is that?
Wow.
Because there's too much innovation need in it. You need scale advantages, right? So I'm not even sure I'm too optimistic on the smaller Chinese players. There will for sure big Chinese players in the future, but I think it will consolidate to these 3 to 5, maybe seven main players, simply because you need to have a very significant innovation spend to stay in the business. We just see how much there's going on right now, and I don't see us reaching, you can say, a level where all scanners are good enough and there's no more innovation space in the area here.
It's incredible. I have to agree. I mean, I would hope it consolidates, to be honest, because even I feel it's too much. It's just crazy now.
Yeah.
50, 30 different scanners. And I think what's differentiating them is services and software, no doubt. Because me and you both know they all can scan well enough to a certain degree. I know there's a big difference between the $5,000 products and the $20,000 products. But I think really what's differentiating is, like you say, is software, services, but I think critically as well as AI, which 3Shape has been leading for a while, and also cloud. Cloud's an interesting one because everyone is moving very fast to the cloud. And I feel like that's going to be another differentiating factor soon in the market. You have your cloud scanners and your non-cloud scanners.
The undisputed technology trend of the world is not just in dentistry, but even more outside dentistry, right, is AI. And the amount, I was just looking at, I think it was Microsoft investing $50 billion this year in AI. And some of the other big tech companies are investing the same. The scale is immense. And still what you can achieve is very impressive. Not just ChatGPT, but also if you see the whole, fountain of startups that are doing all kind of cool stuff, also in dentistry. So I think this is really going to be tremendous impact, right? And we see a lot of funding, which is fueling dramatically.
So do you think AI, without a doubt, will be mainstream? And let's talk about AI. We've got diagnostics, we've got CAD AI, but you think the practice of the future will be using some form of AI, no doubt?
100% sure. I was just at a super interesting AI conference and we're looking for a lot. If we start with, you can say one of the maybe the broadest application, AI and X-rays, which is a pretty straightforward application, right?
Yeah.
And I was more just doing a map on what I could easily find on the internet. And there's more than 12 AI companies with nice homepages that raise money, and then there's a whole crazy amount of university working on it. And I'm not in doubt when I see the results that if you look at X-rays, then AI will be a standard tool level almost to compare it with like not having autofocus on your camera today, because it's just gonna help you, right? It's a supporting tool. So I think it's gonna be standard operation on any X-ray in the future. Then you can just debate who will win the game. I think that's still a lot up for discussion, and I'm surprised that especially the hardware manufacturers, the imaging manufacturers are not moving more aggressively into this area and leaving that to the startups. But it's still puzzling me to that today, because for me, who has most passion for intraoral scans? That is Trias, right? Who should have most passion for X-rays? That should be the imaging companies, right?
Stream Dental or Plan Mecca, or they are integrating. They are working with a lot of startups, and we saw Pearl AI just got 58 million in their I was going to say crowdfunding, but it's not crowdfunding. What is it called?
I think it was around. No, but both Pearl and I actually met Pearl CEO was here in Copenhagen just a month ago.
Wow.
And we have raised more than $100 million. Overjet have raised more than $100 million, and several of the others haven't published exactly how much money they have raised, but they have raised a solid amount of money. So that was pumped a tremendous amount of money into this area, right? And they are doing interesting stuff. That's for sure.
Do you think it's a lot of hype though? Do you feel like it's hype? You're hearing about the stocks. A lot of the AI stocks are starting to tumble a little bit because I think it's,
Of course, you saw NVIDIA, the raise and a little bit drop again of NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And maybe just a small side story. 3Shape have been based on NVIDIA for 20 years.
Wow.
First as a graphic now. And then one of the reasons why the Trios scanned so fast, and actually already scanned so fast in 2015, was because we were doing calculation on NVIDIA chips.
Crazy.
Because you can do parallel calculations that allow complete different computation speed. So that was actually the speed breakthrough already almost 10 years ago. And now that's actually the same chips, just 10 times or 100 times faster that people are using today, right? So 3Shape have always been close to NVIDIA. But that is said, there's no doubt that there's been a hype on this. And also, if you look into the startup X-ray company, they're for sure not all going to survive. It will be the classical consolidation again. But it's back to how venture capital works. You do 20 investments, two of them or one or two of them go through the roof, and the rest dies. But then the other one gives 50 times back, right?
And we might see the same cycle with intraoral scanners. Give it a few years, a rush of different products, and then consolidation.
I'm sure that will happen, as we just discussed also before, right?
So, and of course, there's now we have AI CAD, and 3Shape has been leading that for a while. There's a few competitors like Dentures and a few other guys trying to do it. You have 3Shape Automate. How's that been going? If anyone who doesn't know, you should know by now. Go to 3Shape Automate on Google. Go look at it. It's basically, I would say, the most famous, AI generated CAD design. So how's it been going, Rune?
It's been going. I mean, it's continued to boom. It's impressive. We do more than 100,000 cases. I think it's actually close to 150,000 cases per month now.
Wow.
There's one lab in the US that uploads more than 1,000 cases a day, all AI generated. And we are up at an acceptance rate now at 92%. So there's no doubt that this is going to change the way particular labs, but also clinics ultimately will work, right? This is super exciting, and it continues, and we see, so Automate is booming, but we also see other AI applications in 3Shape really driving very fast forward here. And the usage is going up. Also, another great example is a model builder on the trios that you can take a trio scan and you can automatically build a model without any human interaction. That's also super well received on the clinic side. And just for the new people here, 3Shape Automate is a cloud CAD service where you can upload a scan, gypsum scan, or intraoral scan. It will automatically, within 90 seconds, give you a final proposal, which you can then choose to download or not. So, and there's a range of other applications.
What does it CAD now? Does it does like crowns and bridges, or what is the applications now that it can do?
So it can do crown, bridges, models, splints, and then we have implemented a number of other selections into AI tools into the actual CAD software. So we also earlier this year released AI guides, so you can automatically now do the guide in Implant Studio. We released the next level of Model Builder Express that do advanced models now, also with removable dies. So we believe that the whole CAD-CAM workflow used to be open up your CAD software, press next, design, set your margin, press next, and so on, next. So you will go next, and it will take you several minutes just to get through it. And now you will see that it comes automatically with a proposal, and that proposal, of course, is getting better and better. So we can even take that even further to the next level in next year.
Is there like a hint something is coming? Or
obviously, ideas is coming up. That's always a great less than a year. That's always a great place to show new stuff, right?
I'll be sure to be at the 3Shape booth then. I'll make sure I'm there.
And also, I think we just to add on Automate, it is still mainly in volume and lab product, but we also integrated on trios now. So dentists have the ability to work with that directly, and we see a solid pickup. Of course, the volume is much lower because it's a dentist, but we do see a solid pickup here.
Do you think with AI, genuinely, do you think it will eventually design everything, even dentures, full mouth rehab cases, is it a matter of time, or what are your thoughts?
I think what will happen is that I see it very much as an efficiency game. So yes, there will be better. There's no doubt there will be better proposals for dentures based on AI. I mean, we could honestly do that. We haven't prioritized it yet because the volume here is not as high. I still think we will most likely need some manual modifications of it, but there's no doubt we can reduce the design time from where it is today, and probably with easily 50 or 75% right within a reasonable future to make it much better proposals, so you don't have to do so much. But still remember, that has been the development of CAD for years. Is that if you remember back 10 years ago and walk into your own lab, things were taking 2-3 times as long as they do today.
True.
But that's even without AI, right? So there has been a continuous efficiency gain.
What do you think AI is going to drive Chairside CAD-CAM forward? Because we know CEREC has been pushing that a lot. The masters of Chairside CAD-CAM, let's say, they reached about 15-20% penetration globally, I think. That's the numbers I kind of hear of chairside milling. Do you think, everyone knows that CAD design is the main barrier because dentists, they don't, on average, want to learn exocad. It's growing now with education and Instagram and social media, and everyone is learning or wanting to learn CAD. But it's still a big barrier, especially when dentists don't want to, spend 30 minutes of their day designing.
Sure.
And so do you think AI is going to open the floodgates?
So first of all, I don't think the CAD penetration, chairside penetration is as high as you're indicating here.
Wow.
I would say it's more around 10%, and we have seen it being reasonably flat on the milling side the last couple of years.
Only 10%, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the center lab have completely dominated. Maybe it's 10 to 15%, but not for sure, not more. That a little bit market variation, right? But what we have really seen now is people buying printers. You've also been following that yourself. So we see actually people buying less mills, but a lot of printers. And I have to say, I'm actually not in doubt how deep the penetration will go. But of course, there's no doubt that design is a main barrier for chairside, right? Well, there's chairside milling or even more chairside printing, then CAD is the barrier. I still think that many dentists want to send to a lab and work with a lab simply because it's just easier for them. Then if you have the size of clinic that you have with an in-house lab, and you should build that tomorrow if you have a big clinic, because I think that gives so many advantages, right? But if you are a smaller dentist, typical dentist, I think many will still want to send to a lab simply because it's easier. And of course, also with AI labs, full zirconia, maybe even 3D printed crowns, crown prices will continue to drop. And you can say that has really been the problem for CEREC, is that the business case have largely been, it's actually disappeared largely today with $100,000 plus euro system when you can get a crown at a very competitive cost at the full digital lab from an Intraoral scan.
It's true, man. Lab builds are plummeting for zirconia crowns. They're cheap. It makes me sometimes rethink. I'm a CEREC guy. I use a lot of CEREC. I have like 6 CEREC full units across our clinics. And even, I hear some lab bills, they're so low for a zirconia crown. It makes the business model harder.
I would say, in my opinion, it's largely broken. Of course, if you have the system already, like you have and have done the investment,
then it's a money printing machine. Then it's an ATM.
Then it's a different situation, right? But for a new clinic investing into a mill through a CEREC system, I would say that's a very doubtful business case. If you look at adding, you can say costs, you can adding time on top of that. So as your own time, etc. So I would say that's where you also see who are the most rational players in the industry. That's the DSOs. They are basically financial driven, right? And then you don't see any DSO implementing chairside milling. Would that change with printing? Potentially, yes. Because printers come at a different price point, right? So completely different price point. But it's going to be interesting to follow this market, and there's no doubt that printers is to some extent the next following the iOS.
Do you think printers have already exceeded mills chairside? Is it more than 10-15%?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure that goes install base, but without any doubt, new sales has exceeded that. Then it's still back to is it a toy or people actually using it really for something, right? And I generally don't see people sitting designing in exocad or 3Shape in the clinic unless you have a lab. Yes, there'll be the tech freaks that will do that. That will also be very visible on social medias. But I don't think that is.
Who you calling a tech freak? Yeah, I agree. Though I think the average guy won't design, right?
No, and that's of course why AI could accelerate it without any doubt. Maybe before we leave AI completely, I just think we should highlight a couple of really other interesting AI applications. And there's a lot of interesting startups out there. So we have talked about the main, we'll call them digital application, but then there's voice recognition and the whole interaction. I'm sure that we will have digital receptionists going forward. I mean, the phone will be taken by AI, right? And a lot of your interaction will be of AI. Hopefully, when you fill out the patient page, it will be done by AI, listening in or at least taking notes. from what you are saying. Yeah. So, and what about, diagnostic, not just on the X-ray, but even more holistic diagnostic, where you start combining many different image modalities and maybe also health data and so on. So I think we are only scratching, I would say, the most obvious surfaces today. But I think there'll be very significant impact, you can say, across the whole clinic, where we are still only taking the first steps up the stairs today.
I totally agree, and it's a totally exciting time to be a dentist. I think it's
Yeah.
the past 10, 15 years.
It's
Crazy.
And I'm not afraid. I think it will just be tools that will help us. I know some people are afraid of the AI from a professional standpoint, particularly on the lab side. But in clinics, I don't think you should be afraid of it. It is the next step in technology. And for good and bad, I also think it's a little bit unavoidable. I mean, and there's a very famous saying with an AI, you will not lose to AI, you will lose to a human using AI. And I actually think that is very true. But if you want to be a leading dentist and a leading clinic and also be efficient, then I think AI is a natural step.
True. I totally agree. And last three questions as we're running out of time a bit. I just want to touch on the printing thing. So you guys have a lot of design centers around the world, Rune. You guys are very in touch with the lab community, with 3Shape being one of the most popular lab softwares. You see the data of what's being done. What do you think of the printing thing? So obviously splints, models, surgical guides are all kind of accepted standards of care now. Do you think printing crowns will ever be a standard of care?
I would say if you look into, I completely agree with, just a new survey coming out here the other day. I mean, I have to say every serious lab today has one or two printers, right, that prints exactly models, but also splint guides. There's printed surprisingly many also when you talk to the manufacturers and what we see in our data, surprisingly many tint crowns also. And I would say on the final crown, I really, really think the call is out here. But maybe before we get to that, I just think there's something interesting on the way. That's full dentures. Because you can say full dentures are really moving into being printed. We see the first companies printing that at scale. I mean, people like Asthma put more than 20,000 cases in to the mouth of the patient. So we see the materials getting significantly better, with the leader being Luciton from Dentsply Sirona, but also a range of other materials are getting really good for full denture. So I think we will soon see that move completely over to printing, especially for the economy to meet the denture. Then, of course, the four questions is the crown, the fine crown. A lot of people are claiming interesting stuff. We've also seen the Midas launch, which was a very extremely interesting launch. You also participating in that yourself. I still have to say, I still need to meet a wide range of dentists that accept this compared to ceramic-based crown, right? Yes, you can see people again on social media that are printing every day. But even if you talk to some of them a little bit off the Facebook page or social media page, you will hear that they might not only be a perfect right. So I think the jury is still out here, in my opinion. But on the other hand, there's invested so much money into this also. And again, for economy, there's no doubt that this will be an option and for sure for tips.
It'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to see what the future holds, that's for sure. Especially with iDD putting their name behind something like SprintRay, that's, I think, super exciting. Like a company like iDD.
It was super interesting move to see Ivoclar actually really leaning into this, also being, the really top ceramic manufacturer, material manufacturer, really leaning into this. So this is going to be extremely interesting to follow. And they also have a few good things in the basket, I know. But we'll have to follow all that. But of course, that is one of the big questions. I think we still have to remember those that, yes, printed crowns material costs are low, but if you have a zirconia blank and look at the material cost there, I mean, it's honestly comparable, at least within a low single digit, right? Also come back to, also if you look at the application of Chairside, it comes back to also what's the workflow? Do we still need to stain and glaze? Wash, cure, stain and glaze. People always forget to tell. I normally call it the biggest lie in 3D printing is the whole post-processing, which I don't think has been solved yet, right?
It'll be interesting. Yeah, no, I totally agree. The post-processing, honestly, it's arduous. I hate it. I mean, look, I love printing as much as the next guy, but when I have a CEREC there, and let's say I want to mill a CereSmart, which is a composite hybrid, I would say something comparable to a 3D printed crown as they stand now. I put it in the mill, it comes out, I cut the sprue, I polish it, it's done. Versus printing a single crown, yes, it looks good on Facebook and everything. And look, I'm not a hater of the technology. I think it's got a lot of good to come in the future, and a lot of genius people are putting their minds into it, and a lot of research and development. But at the moment, you print it, you have to wash it, you have to dry it and cure it, and even some of the protocols aren't clear. You know, now you don't dunk the ceramic resins, you have to spray them. And so, yeah, I totally agree. It's curious, and I think we share very similar thoughts about this topic.
Yeah, and it's funny because normally you're very technology optimistic, right? But it's all, I would say it's the first time I heard you being a little bit skeptical, or not skeptical, but at least let's evaluate it. But I think we are very well aligned on this topic here.
Yeah, look, I love tech. I think marketing and reality can sometimes, it's the two different worlds. What you see on Instagram and Facebook and real life clinical work is two different worlds. But look, I'm all for it, and I tip my head off to all the people who are pushing it hard, because I'm happy to eat my words. Because I always remember, before we had ceramic restorations and Emax and zirconia being so popular, what was popular? Metals, amalgam,
Exactly.
PFM, gold. And so, it just takes one really genius company like Ivoclar to make maybe the next big thing. Maybe we get that magical resin that is aesthetic, easy to process, strong, but we'll have to see.
I think I have to remember, 10 years ago, no one believed in full zirconia. You couldn't do it. When I joined dentistry, full zirconia crowns, not possible. And now the vast majority of all crowns are full zirconia, right? So I cross my fingers also. We're good for development, we're good for everybody. And of course, we are excited to see that also continue to evolve.
And I totally agree with you about the Midas thing. I think I don't think the resin thing they still have to pull off, but I think the concept was genius, frankly. Like, it's like the Nespresso machine of printing, because frankly, dentists, they don't want to wash and cure and all this stuff. They don't want to. I mean, they still have to sort out the washing part and the curing and how they're going to manage that. But I feel like the pouring resins and all of that, it's genius to just have capsules and you put it in, it presses it, done.
Now I've been following 3D printing since 3Shape's was founded, because we were printing hearing aids first. Back in 2001, by the way, which printing was very early out, right? And this is maybe the biggest innovation I've seen, and at least one of the biggest innovations. I think it's super exciting, but it's a big step forward, a leap forward, but it's not the final solution. I mean, there are still gaps in materials and on the post-processing in particular, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and they're going to love to hear that, I'm sure, from the people at 3Shape himself. All right, so the second to last question, Rune. What's some super exciting things in your mind that listeners should keep an eye on? What would you say? What's the top thing that people should keep an eye out for? And then we're going to ask you what's some exciting things coming from 3Shape that we should keep an eye out for. But in the market, what do you think?
This has been an extremely exciting year. And I think the pace will continue also into IDS next year. Still, the biggest advancement will be in AI if we look at a global scale. But of course, I'm sure we'll continue to see a lot of technology coming out. I mean, they are put tremendous funds into it also from 3Shape. We have a 50 million euro plus R&D budget, right? So we are pumping in. We'll see AI. We'll see, of course, hardware, improve innovations also on iOS, on 3D printers. And we'll continue to see significant cloud progress also, and more moving further towards the phone, I believe, where we are spending a lot of time already, right?
For sure. Is there anything you could share with us coming from 3Shape?
I would say we are, of course, always working on the next big things. We have these many hundred developers working on it, more than 600 developers working on it. We are not sleeping. So there'll be a lot of stuff, a lot of good innovations coming out. particularly for clinics, but also for labs over the next period here. Of course, we just have a major launch, so don't expect something tomorrow. But I can tell you the pipeline is full, and you will be able to see a lot of cool stuff coming out. And for instance, iDD is always a great event to show new cool innovations. So this is what I live for. I live for creating great products, bringing great innovations to the market, and not at least see them be used so they have a real impact.
I'll keep my eyes peeled. You didn't spill any beans, but that's okay. You just had a big release. We'll have to wait till ideas. Anyway, guys, that concludes another episode of Digital Dentistry Decoded. I want to give a really special thanks to Rune Fisker for joining me. He, again, is the VP of Product Strategy at 3Shape. This is an incredibly busy guy, and he's given us an hour just to chat and just to share information with you all. So I hope you guys enjoyed the chat today, and please subscribe to the podcast, and also check out any free courses at instituteofdigitaldentistry.com. Once again, Rune, a huge thank you. Thank you for your time. And this has been Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassiny with you from the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast. Thanks, guys.